Hi everyone, I'm Paulo from Español and English Private Tutoring. Today we are going to talk about indirect objects and indirect object pronouns, especially what books do not teach you and courses do not teach you. We are going to um, talk especially about a book called Español and English Private Tutoring. No, I'm sorry. This is Spanish step by step. Okay, but this book, you don't need to have it. I'm just going to explain some things that normally are not explained. And I'm going to talk, for those who are students, I'm going to talk about mistakes that are on certain pages. You don't have the book. Um, you can still follow, so you can see how what mistakes are common in some books. Okay, so for those who are students, just go to page 182. Yes. So on page 182, number 8, you have the following sentence. Yo. So the book we use is in English Spanish, and for that reason it has some mistakes. The best books are on Spanish, but that makes it more challenging. So yo, well, so just change it to bien. Okay? And you're supposed to do the following, right? To answer these two. No. So this is number 8 in the book. I'm just going to give you the answer to this one, but before I give you the answer, pause the video and try to figure it out yourself. Vi, yo conozco a Pedro. Bien. Pedro. Yo conozco a Pedro bien. Okay. Now I'm going to explain other things. So for this, you need to know more or less what a indirect object is. If you don't know what indirect object is, we have other videos that you just check on in our channel, YouTube channel, and you will find more information about this. You can also visit our website at espeng.net. To put here, espeng.net. You want to learn more and you want to become a student. So there's something else that books do not explain. So to explain this, I'm going to give you different sentences. So the first one is ella le dio un regalo a Juan. Ella le dio un regalo a Juan. For a student, please take notes about what I'm going to explain on page 182. Ella le dio un regalo a Juan. Is one sentence. Look at the second one. Will be ella le dio un regalo. The third one would be ella dio un regalo a Juan. Try to think of these three sentences and try to figure out what is different between all of these sentences. Okay, was the video before you see the answer to figure it out. I'm going to tell you now. So notice this: le, we have le, we have agua. Okay. In the second one, we just have le, and in the third one, we only have one, agua. So agua is an indirect object. Le is an indirect object pronoun. So in the first one, we have both in the same sentence. In the second one, we only have the indirect object pronoun. Okay. The reason why is because when the indirect object is understood in Spanish, you don't have to place it in the sentence. It's very common in Spanish to omit the indirect object if it's understood, and we just use the indirect object pronoun. Now, le can be a problem because le can refer to him, to her, and to you. So it's not, if you tell me the second sentence and there is no context, I'm not going to know what you're talking about or who you're talking about. Okay. Now look at the third one. On the third one, I don't have an indirect object pronoun. I only have the indirect object. So the third one is correct, but it's not very common with in conversation, not even in writing. So the most common ones are the first one and the second one. Okay, the first one and second are the most common ones. So to conclude, in Spanish, you either have the indirect object pronoun, the second one, or you have the indirect object pronoun and the indirect object in the same sentence. This is something you don't have in English. In English, you have either or, but not both. In Spanish, to clarify the meaning of le or les, we can include the indirect object, but only in those cases. So in Spanish, you can have both in the same sentence. That's all. Now look what happens to the next sentences. Ella vio a Juan ayer. Ella vio a Juan ayer. Second. Ella lo vio. Okay, so try to think about the first, second, and third sentence, and try to think about the other two. What is the difference here? Okay. I'm going to give you the answer now. So look at this. A Juan. Look at this. No. This is what the book teaches. So this is in chapter 11.1. On chapter 11, the book teaches this. This is exactly what the book teaches. And as I say, you don't know about this, you can check our videos about direct and indirect objects, and you have more information there. Or you can also go to the internet and find more about this, or you can go to our website and register for classes. So ella vio a Juan. A Juan is the direct object. So what is a direct object? A direct object is the person, animal, or thing that receives the action of the verb directly. What is an indirect object? Is the person, animal, or thing that receives the action of the verb indirectly. Okay? So this is indirectly, this is directly. So here I'm saying she saw Juan yesterday. Okay? She didn't say yesterday. She didn't see yesterday. She saw Juan. So Juan is receiving the action of the verb directly. And we are using the preposition a because Juan is a person. It's a personal name. And that's part of the grammar in Spanish. If you are then the direct object is a personal name, you have to use the preposition. Now, on the second one, what I'm doing is replacing the direct object with the direct object pronoun. Okay? So it's kind of the same idea as in English. She saw Juan yesterday versus she saw him yesterday. The difference between English and Spanish is that you put the direct object pronoun after the verb. We put it before the verb. Okay. Now look at this sentence. So, ella So this sentence, the third one, is incorrect. It is incorrect because we cannot have both in the same sentence. When it comes to indirect object pronouns and indirect objects, yes, you can have both. But when it comes to direct object pronouns, at direct objects, you can have either or, not both in the sentence. So the third one is wrong. It's not a correct sentence. So this here follows more or less the same rules as in English. In English, you don't say she saw him Juan yesterday. It will make sense. You use either or. You use the direct object pronoun or the direct object, but not both. Now, there is an exception to this rule. I'm going to explain the exception now. So let's say, let's going to give you a for example for this. Change to Spanish. Ella lo vio a él. Okay. So I'm going to put it here. The fourth one is correct. So what is the difference between the third one, and the fourth? I have to think what makes the fourth one correct and what makes the third one incorrect. I need to give you the answer now. What makes the fourth one correct is that instead of saying Juan, I'm using a personal pronoun. Okay? So this is a common rule in Spanish. If the direct object has a personal pronoun, either in the plural form or singular form, you have to also include the direct object pronoun. Okay? Now look at this. Ella love you. Vamos aquí a hacer. Ella lo vio. So, ella lo vio ayer. So, notice that the fifth one is also correct. Okay. So, in other words, this rule, the fourth one, only applies if you include the direct object in the sentence. And if, it's an if condition, and if the direct object is using a personal pronoun. And the same as in English, if it is understood, we just use the direct object pronoun. Good. So that's something books do not explain. Another thing that you need to be aware of is on page 183. So this book says, review what you know about direct object pronouns. So the book is giving 4 rules, and I'm going to read them. The first one is that direct object pronoun replaces the direct object. Okay, that is correct. Direct object pronouns replace the direct object. The direct pronoun can refer to a person or thing. So they do not only refer to people or things, they can also refer to animals. Okay. Plants are considered things in Spanish. So a direct object can be a person, animal, or thing, or a personal pronoun, or it can be a combination of all of them. Now, when it says it receives the action of the verb directly, this is a rule that goes better with the direct object. So let's call it, in our classes, we call direct object pronouns as pronombres objetivos directos. Okay? Pronombres objetivos indirectos. In this video, we are going to keep calling them POD. Pronombres objetivos directos. Direct objects, we call them objetos directos. Okay? And in this class, we are going to keep calling them OD. Objetos directos. Leave it here. So, the first rules that I gave you refer to PODs. The following rules belong to ODs. So POD and OD are 2 different things. They are not the same. What is an OD? Is what receives the action of the verb directly. It's the person, animal, thing, or personal pronoun that receives the action of the verb directly. It also, the direct object also answers to the question about what or who receives the action. Now, on page 185, number 9, I'm going to explain something here. Maybe see as reference. We're going to change the sentence and I'm going to explain you why. Saludan ustedes, sus amigos todos los días. Saludan ustedes a sus amigos todos los días. So the book says nosotros, comma, no. Okay. Saludan ustedes a sus amigos todos los días. Now, for those who do not know, this is what is called an close-ended question. So like I'm saying in English, do you say hi to your friends every day? It's a close-ended question because there are only two options, yes or no. Okay. So normally, to answer those questions, you say yes or no. Okay. But if you want to explain more, you say no, for example, no, comma, nosotros, we, no, blank, nunca. Okay. So try to think of the answer of this question. And when you are ready to continue, do so. So we'll be going to explain it now. No, nosotros no los saludamos. No, nosotros no los saludamos nunca. Okay. You say hi to your friends every day. In English will be no, we don't say hi to them ever. So, and it's a close question because you can just say no, and that's it. But for this course, we are using full answers. So no plus the explanation to practice Spanish. Now, when it comes to grammatical rules, there are always exceptions. For close-ended questions, you don't have to always say yes or no. You can answer in different ways. But since you are learning Spanish, just keep it this format until you get more familiar with how to talk in Spanish. The next thing that I want to explain is on page 188. And we are going to start with the seventh one. And there's a sentence here that I want to explain as well. Antes de estudiar la lección, antes de estudiar la lección, ama, ella está nerviosa. ¿Sí? Después de espacio, tiene más confianza. Antes de estudiar la lección, and as I said before, this is on page 188. Page 188. This one is on page 185. Entonces, antes de estudiar la lección, como separado, okay. De estudiar la lección, ella está corrigiendo, está corrigiendo. Ella está nerviosa. Después tiene confianza. So this in English is, this part in English says, but try to figure it out first try to translate this part in English by yourself. You can use a translator if you want, and then compare it with my answer. pause the video, then I'm going to give you the answer. Antes de estudiar la lección, ella está nerviosa. Before studying, she is nervous. So that doesn't sound well in English, neither in Spanish. The sentence will be before studying the lesson, she becomes nervous. You want to say becomes, will be ella se pone nerviosa. So change this part in the book because the verb start doesn't make sense there. Now, with this one here, let's try the answer for this one. You need to use the verb to study with the direct object pronoun. Try to figure out this. We're ready, we will continue. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer now. Después de estudiarla, tiene más confianza. Desde estudiarla, tiene más confianza. Now, let's go now to page 191. Page 191. So there is a reading here that says La bienvenida. In the second paragraph, they are using a weather expression. They're saying hace fresco. It's a weather expression. They're saying it is fresh. The weather is nice. They're saying that in Spanish. And it is correct. This is correct, but this is an expression that is used in Spain. Now, this is an expression because if you try to translate this into English, it will not make sense. Expressions you just have to learn by memory. Hace fresco is like saying make fresh, which it doesn't make any sense for the weather. But that's how they say in Spain. But this is only in Spain. What if you were in South America or in Central America? You want to say the weather is nice, there you will say el clima está fresco. Okay. Now, this is also an expression, but it's not as bad as the other one, so it will be the weather is fresh. This is exactly what it's saying. And there's another way to do it. El clima está templado. Now, these two are exactly the same. This one is just a more fancy way of saying it. It's like more formal. People use this in Spanish in like a more professional environments. This one is more like to use in normal situations. So this one is saying the weather is fresh, the weather is mild. But in Spanish, it's exactly the same thing. This one is more informal. This one is more formal. Okay, and that's it for today. I just wanted to explain some mistakes and some missing information related to some verbs and direct and indirect object pronouns. See you next time. Have a good one, everybody.